Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus AEW Dynamite from June 24th, 2020. We're going to have a lumberjack match. That's what they promoted beforehand. Lumberjack match between Wardlow with MJF and Luchasaurus, presumably with the rest of Jurassic Express at ringside. We're going to have a lumberjack match, and this is the last show. This is the go-home show, as they say in the business, before Fyter Fest, which is going to take place July 1st and July 8th. Very exciting stuff. However, they run their usual intro for AEW Dynamite, looked right as rain. Then we're going to go right into the lumberjack match. Okay, folks. Having a lumberjack match and having a crowd of this size, it's a bad look. AEW has done a good job in the PR wars against the WWE of seeming like they cared more, and, even something as simple as people wearing masks in the audience for AEW, whereas the WWE had famously banned the wearing of masks. Now that it looks like maybe as many as a couple of dozen people at WWE have gotten COVID. And now that's affecting AEW because Moxley's wife having it makes it so Moxley couldn't be it's a disappointing look from AEW. I'll just say that. So we've got this lumberjack match with all these guys right next to each other. Wardlow versus Luchasaurus. The match is really good. I think Wardlow looked really good here. Luchasaurus's kicks looked really fantastic. MJF taking the ref, I thought, was a great old school spot. Which led to Wardlow eventually, who presumably would have been pinned by Luchasaurus, instead coming back and getting that F10 for the win. And then there's a big fight. One of my kids said, I love this, when she was looking at everybody brawling it. But as my man Crypt, who reviews rap songs on YouTube, says, get used to that! Because if you wanted to see a brawl after a match to set up something for Fyter Fest, this was the fucking show for you, because they did it on no less variations of people getting physical with each other to set up something at Fyter Fest, no less than half a dozen times. I'm not joking. Dynamite, which has been consistently improving as a show as far as the structure of the show and doing things that made sense in continuity, ran out of ideas. That's how it feels on this show. And I don't think it's going to bite them in terms of less people watching for Fyter Fest or anything like that. It does show incredibly limited, lazy thinking. As they said at the end of Star Trek II, when they were battling Khan, when Spock says his pattern indicates two-dimensional thinking, meaning Khan is not thinking of this space battle in terms of you can go up and down, but just left and right, and that's how he's eventually outsmarted. AEW's booking, which has seemed very solid on this show, seemed like two-dimensional thinking. This thing works, so we'll just do it again and again and again and again, and it dilutes the entire effect. We brought back Technique with Taz, which is something that I've brought up for weeks and weeks. It's great to see. And it's Taz talking about his guy, Brian Cage. And then, Brian Cage looks like a badass. And then we promote the rest of the card. I like that they're sort of tweaking how they're opening the shows, but they get all of the elements in. They always get in the element of here's what's going to happen on the show. They're just doing it a little later than normal. We're going to have Brian Cage is going to have a match. I assume a squashy squash. This is instead of Jon Moxley wrestling with Taz commentating, which is what they promoted on AEW Dark. Right? Because Moxley isn't here, which is, I don't know, is he not going to be at Fyter Fest if he has to stay in quarantine for COVID for 2 weeks? Troubling stuff. WWE and AEW, you have to lead in this fight. You have to be the example for us all. And you got to start taking this stuff seriously. It's bad. It's not even about politics. It's just a bad look right now. WWE has been flaunting their lack of personal protection equipment, and they're not so quiet disdain for the stay-at-home orders and all the rest of it. And now that there is an outbreak happening that is now affecting AEW, come on, tighten your shit up, guys. We're going to have Brody Lee and Colt Cabana tonight against Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. Looking forward to that. Matt Hardy against Santana. And again, Matt Hardy's opponent, Sammy Guevara, who had to step out of that because he was caught up in the speaking out movement stuff. I will say how AEW is handling that and how Sammy Guevara himself is handling that is spot on perfect. Sammy Guevara being very contrite, apologizing to Sasha Banks, and then them keeping him off of television for the nonce. That's a legitimate consequence because that guy is over like Rover and he's an integral part of what they're doing. But that's a very powerful statement. So AEW should be very proud about that. They should make an equally strong statement about COVID and be a great example. Sorry to keep harping on it, but it's very important. And it's much more important than just wrestling stuff. You got SCU going to be taking on FTR. And again, COVID rearing its ugly head because we were supposed to have Dustin. And we're supposed to have the natural nightmares of Dustin and QT, but QT also came in contact with somebody, so he had to stay home. So now it's going to be SCU against FTR. And we're going to have other 3-letter names, I'm sure. And then Orange Cassidy is going to have a standoff against Jericho. And Sheeta's going to be in action. And we're going to have a press conference with Cody and Jake Hager. I really like that they're doing this press conference. Here's why. Cody wrestling every week has already become a thing where it's in danger of being overplayed. So this is a great way of getting Cody on television and on the sly, even though he's not wrestling, you're getting him on the sly. So it feels like this a promise is being kept, even if technically it's not. Cody also, by the way, did the same thing where after Sheeta wrestled, he sent out a text to all the people who get texted by him and said, Sheeta's in action next, and then me. So again, I think a cool thing that I encourage them to keep doing. I don't know if they're listening to these and listening to me. It certainly feels in a lot of ways that they are, so let me encourage that. I think Cody utilizing the texting in this way is really powerful and really cool and very interactive in a way that the WWE is not conceived of yet. Hikaru Shida in our second match against Red Velvet in a squishy squash, which was completely unexpected, made Shida look great, put over her thing with Penelope really well, where Shida gets pushed in the face, but then she goes in and wins her match with a great deal of rage. And here's a small, subtle wrestling thing that I liked. Hikaru Shida hits her Falcon Arrow, but she has to hold Red Velvet down to get the pin, even though that's her finish. Red Velvet is fighting it all the way because it's the first thing that happened in the match, practically. I thought it was great. Kudos to Red Velvet for making Hikaru Shida look great. Then Hikaru Shida goes out and starts brawling with Penelope Ford. Folks, first 2 fucking matches and we had pull-apart fucking brawls to promote their thing. You see where I'm going with this? A little bit of oh God, man. 2-dimensional thinking. That's what I'm going to dub this from Star Trek. 2-dimensional thinking. Press conference with Cody. Asking a question from Liz Hunter. Is this the same Liz Hunter that had the bad interaction with Dave Lagana of the NWA? Liz Hunter, of course, anybody who reads wrestling mags knows who Liz Hunter is. And Matt Brock. They take questions from 2 people from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I popped as an old school wrestling guy again, and showing that AEW is much more part of the general wrestling world than the WWE. Subtle, smart. I loved it. It's too bad they couldn't have gotten other wrestling people of note to be there for a press conference. Hey, you want Stephen Platinum to show up and ask a question for your bit? I am there. Stephen Platinum from Georgia Wrestling History. Just throwing it out there, and I would be awesome. And I would look good, too. You could put the camera on me. Be like, who's that dude in the green jacket? That man is fine. Anyway, they have a couple of questions, which I thought were really cool to answer. Arn did a pretty good job. Cody did a really good job. I'm a big fan of Cody on the mic. And then Jake Hager. One thing that confused me though, and it's a problem, and it's why they often make people change their names, because you have a Jake Roberts. When they kept saying, "Well, Jake," at first I thought, "Oh no, Arn's getting confused. He's thinking it's about Lance Archer." But I was like, "Oh no, it's Jake Hager." I would suggest going with Hager instead of, or say Jake Hager instead of just saying Jake, because when you hear Jake, sorry, the first person I think of is Jake Roberts when he's on the same thing. That's nitpicky, but again, adult in the room would catch these things, yeah? Then Jake Hager shows up with his wife in a cool little spot. Jake is like, let's do the pictures. And so they do the standard like MMA pictures, like here we are standing with our fists up. Here we are, profile shots. And then he puts his fist on Cody's face in a really disrespectful manner. I really like that. Cody slaps his hands away and Jake just leaves. And I thought it came across as the right kind of, I'm playing head games with you, I'm being disrespectful. And then Jake Hager's wife inexplicably picks up a thing of water and throws it into Cody's face, which, again, it had a very real feel to it. I thought it was really cool that Jake Hager's wife was, I liked it. I just thought it worked. It just, again, AEW, they swing for the fences, and when it goes over when it's a home run, it's a home run. This was a home run. But again, something physical happening between guys who are going to meet at Fyter Fest. We are now 3 for 3, folks. Two-dimensional thinking. And again, I'm lumping this thing in, even though I really liked it with the other ones, because again, when you engage in a pattern of behavior, even when you do something that's slightly different, it comes across as you're doing the same thing again and again and again and again, which is another reason to not just do things again and again and again and again. Sorry, I'm belaboring the point, but you know how it goes. Now we're in match number 3. Colt Cabana and Brody Lee. I like that the Dark Order sort of cheated behind Colt's back, so he never saw it happen, against Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, who I thought they made look like gold. And Sonny Kiss is a mofucking star. That guy hits his spots. That guy's stuff looks great. Even held my kids' attention when he hit the cartwheel handspring slap to the face. My kids popped on that. And it's hard to get my kids to watch this stuff, man. And Colt eventually gets the pin after a great deal of effort. I thought it works as a story where Colt's not part of their group, but likes being on Dynamite and likes getting a win. And he's sort of being seduced by the Dark Order in a way that doesn't make Colt look stupid. I liked it. Then Lance Archer comes and beats up Sonny Kiss. Joey Janela throws a chair and it just bounces off of Lance Archer. And again, we're pulling. So why does Lance Archer have to beat up a staff member if they're going to have Lance Archer just come out and beat up a wrestler to set up a thing, which makes way more sense? Just asking. And guess what? We are now 4 for 4 on segments where something physical happened to set up something for Fyter Fest. Are you seeing what I'm fucking saying now? Two-dimensional thinking. Match number 4. SCU! The incarnation of Kazarian and Daniels, who looked really good on AEW Dark, against FTR, who show up in the truck. The truck entrance is lame as shit, but they actually found something to do with it, which I really liked. But FTR showed up, has a barn burner of a match against SCU. I love the spot that FTR always has in their matches, where tempers flare and all 4 guys are in the ring staring off and then shoving each other. I love that spot. They go to commercial, but then they do it split screen style. They did that in the Colt Cabana match as well. Really like that they're selectively using that split screen with the commercial to keep you engaged in their show. They are going to win this fight with NXT. They are determined to. And again, FTR goes over eventually, but Butcher and Blade, and as they're cutting their promo about all the people, they skip over Butcher and Blade because they've already beaten them, right? But then Butcher and Blade are taking their truck and then go, we challenge you and the Bucks to a 8-person tag against, and our partners are going to be, and then Pentagon and Ray Phoenix show up and brawl around for a little while, get some cool spots off on FTR. Very ham-handed. Nothing about it on the surface makes sense. Butcher and Blade going, we challenge you and the guys who you're going to be rivals with to an 8-person tag against these 2 guys are going to be on our team that have nothing to do with any of this. Like, On the surface, it doesn't make sense, but Butcher and Blade, I'll give it to you. They were good enough on the stick and good enough stealing that truck that I was just like, fine, I'll just go with it. Even though this is what a friend of mine would have described as a microwave feud. They're basically instantly making something happen on the go-home show to justify a match that's happening on the pay-per-view. That's completely what's happening here. Very ham-handed, but they got where they needed to go, and the taking of the truck seemed like enough of a justification to sort of the very weak glue holding this very tenuous thing together. And again, something physical happening to set up something at Fyter Fest. We are now 5 for 5 in that regard. Hell, this might be more than a half dozen. I just said a half dozen as a number that I thought would be almost unattainable, but we're 5 for 5 already. Oh my gosh, we're not even halfway through the show, too. Oof. Number 5, John Cruz against Brian Cage. John Cruz gets destroyed by Brian Cage, but looks great doing it. Big fan of the John Cruz, man. Big fan of the Serpentico, man. Love it. Taz talking smack to Moxley on the mic afterwards, and we go back to commercial again. First segment where somebody from Moxley's camp didn't attack Brian Cage or something, so that's good, I guess. Next, Brody Lee and Colt Cabana promo where they're challenging and calling out SCU. Then we talk about Fyter Fest. Good spot to do that in the show. Night 1. And notice they have the next 2 weeks booked out. Again, it's one of the AEW advantages. They are booking. It's just two-dimensional thinking, but they're booking at least. Night 1, Jurassic Express against MJF and Wardlow. So I assume it'll be Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. We got Private Party against Santana and Ortiz. Hence the Matt Hardy connection. Cool. Sheeta against Penelope Ford. Cody against Jake Hager. And Best Friends against Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Good first night, but it's actually outdone by the second night, as it should be. Joey Janela against Lance Archer, hence that random attack by Lance Archer. Okay. Nyla Rose will be in a match, so they're not specific about it. SCU against the Dark Order. Orange Cassidy against Chris Jericho, which is really cool. John Moxley against Cage in your de facto main event for the AEW title, and then Young Bucks and FTR against Butcher and Blade and the Lucha Brothers. Cool. They go to a segment where Britt Baker is bringing up the fact that Big Swole put her in a dumpster. She mad about it, bro. Big Swole, because she's protected in this plexiglass box thingy around her wheelchair. Big Swole dumps trash over the top. Ha ha, hee hee, it is to laugh. Number 6 match, Santana with Ortiz at ringside against Matt Hardy. We get a split screen for this as well. They have a good match. Hardy wins. They have a commercial during this thing with AEW on TNT and Fyter Fest. And Hardy wins, and Santana Ortiz and Private Party get into it, all to set up their Fyter Fest match. Yeah, so that's 6. That's 6 segments were a similar way to set up a thing. Oh boy. Commercial. There we get Jericho and Orange Cassidy having their confrontation. This thing was great. Brawly, brawly, brawl. Orange Cassidy's bleeding ear looked phenomenal. Him hitting a Superman punch to knock Jericho through a table. Awesome. Can't wait for that match. Well done. A physical confrontation to set up their thing for Fyter Fest. So that makes it actually more than a half dozen. That brings us to 7. Whew. While I wasn't the biggest fan of the two-dimensional booking nature of this go-home show, it was a very powerful and effective go-home show. And I'll be curious to see how they do for Fyter Fest as far as ratings and general buzz and general interest. Anyway, this has been Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Stephen Platinum versus AEW Dynamite for June 24th, 2020.